Hello and welcome to the channel. It's time to weld in the tail panel on the 71 Catalina convertible. There was a lot of prep that went into this. I probably had the tail panel off about 7-8 times. But here are the steps it took me to weld it in and have everything fit the best I could do. Okay, I'm going to trim a little bit off of here so it sits a little bit more flush. I'm going to have to eventually, after it's welded in, I got to try to straighten this because it's hitting the body here, it's hitting the panel right here. So if I can move that up a little bit, then I can hammer it down flat afterwards. Then I'm going to have to make a cut here so I can move the whole channel in a little bit. And of course repair some pinholes that are here, here, here. This side there's not much to do. This is not bad. I can actually close this down to meet that. And then I got to drill a couple holes for the spot welding. You might want to just clean this up a little bit so it's a little more visually appealing. This is already flush. This looks like it could come out a little bit. We'll see how that works. So that's way, way, way in. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, I'm ready to test fit for the second time the tail panel. I've prepped all the surfaces now. I do have some sanding to do with everything I did in the trunk, but the trunk is solid. I had to cut off these little extension pieces here because I could not put the tail panel in, but I also have cut this straight to that point, obviously, and the same on this side. I'm going to put a piece of plate steel on there. I'm actually going to make a couple little bevel cuts in here to straighten that floor out, have it gradually come up. And then I'm going to make this piece. The first thing I'm going to do though is fit the tail panel, raise the floor to where it looks like it's going to meet up with the tail panel, because I bent it down right now to make my life easier. Everything is prepped. I have not drilled the holes yet here for the spot welds. I drilled out a couple of them, as you can see. There's also not a provision in the new tail panel for the fender extensions. I should say quarter extensions. So I have to add that piece. And that's about it. So I'm going to put this piece in. I'm just waiting for some of the rust reformer to had some surface rust on the panel. Prepped it a little bit. I'm waiting for that to cure before I put it in place. Take all my measurements, see how much I have to lift up the individual. These I kept for reference. This is the only part of the existing rear of the trunk floor that I'm keeping on either side. This side had some leprosy. I've treated it. I'm going to go ahead and patch a couple little holes that are in there. And everything else, the trunk is good. I got to just sand it down, like I said. There's some detailing to do, but I have a trunk floor. And then, of course, I got to scuff up everything so I can paint it nice and uniform. But I'm not going to do any of that till the quarters are replaced. I'm going to actually grind down these pins that are on the quarter very soon. And then, of course, yikes. But after I get the quarter skin off, I will take a look and see any of the inner structure that I have to repair. I will take care of that that time. Okay, I have the tail panel probably about 80% better. Cut some material off the lip and welded it back on. And now it sits closer to the left-hand quarter. And now when you close it, it's a pretty good line up there. A little bit more of a gap still on this side, but I think the final test will be when I take the deck lid off again. I'm going to have to fix some of this metal here, so this might come in a little bit. I might actually be hammering that down. Could actually do that now and see what happens. Got to repair a couple rust holes. And this here is pretty bad. Now I'm going to make the trunk floor as soon as I close that gap up there. Close that up. That's almost closed right now. And yeah, that's about it. When I make the floor, I'll be able to tack weld it down. I've got to still kick the ass end of it out a little bit. Just a little bit. It's got to come like that. So that's the plan. But it's nice here for the first time in ever. So, and then my trunk line meets up with the valance on that side. And same with that side. That's it. Okay, so I've drilled out the holes for the spot welds, and I have prepped this metal up to where it curves in for the pieces to be welded on both sides. Then I'll refit the piece and make sure that the center piece is going to be good. Bent that down a little bit, straighten this up here. Also put a little bit sharper of a bend here, so hopefully the tail panel will fit a little bit. I'm going to replace this metal now. I'm going to cut this out. First I'm going to cut a piece here, put it in there, and then I'll do the flat spot here. This I'll do after the fact, when the car is together, when the tail panel's in. Unless the tail panel is going to overhang that, I'll have to look at that. But I wanted to be able to kind of mush the metal around and not have a more difficult time, because I'm probably going to use some thicker gauge metal. And that's it. Everything else is good to go. I bent those up. I prepped them. And it's relatively straight. It will be straight after I put the piece of metal on there. And we'll get started. Okay, before the tail panel goes on, I had to address the rot that was in this corner. This corner is fine, there's no problems there, but this one had all sorts of rot, basically on this piece going up here. Probably should have filmed it before I cut it out. And then the piece here was completely rusted. So I just made this piece, and it looks like it's going to be fine. I'm going to tack it in the one side first, and then I'll level everything off. I just want to keep this line true, and then I'll be able to kind of manipulate it around this the trunk weather strip channel a little bit. So it's actually it fits pretty good. You got to just get it in there the right direction here. So one tack and I'll be able to then just hammer and dolly it a little bit. So I'm going to get started on it now. After everything has been tacked in, I've ground down the welds. I'm pretty happy with the fitment. I'm about to put the quarter extensions on. I did have to enlarge the holes a little bit because the studs were not lining up from the quarter extensions. I'll show you that in a minute. But I am happy with this, where the deck lid is. I've also, just for now, because I don't have any new ones, I 3D printed these little stoppers here. And I just did try to test fit the weather strip. The weather strip makes the deck lid stick up a little too much, so I'm going to have to see how I'm going to resolve that. But I am happy with the way the deck lid is sitting now. Of course, now it's got to come a little further back. That gap's a little big. But before I had a very major, the deck lid was sticking way up in the center, way up from the this panel between the convertible top and the deck lid. And in manipulating it, it's been moved over a little bit, so I got to do a final adjustment. But I am very happy with how this sits now. I just got from my buddy Zach in Wisconsin. I've got the trunk lock piece coming, so I'll probably have to patch this one section and then install that. And then I can actually put the lock mechanism in. I'm not going to install the key now because I don't want to break this little spring that holds it in. But I can just get in there with a long screwdriver and pop it open. And I was actually even thinking of removing some of this material to put the automatic trunk release in there. After I do that, then I'll just be able to run some wires out the hole in the tail panel and just hook up the battery and pop the trunk. It'll make it easier than trying to put a screwdriver in there every time I want to open the trunk up. So right now I'm going to just mount the quarter extensions and show you how it looks. Okay, here it is with the quarter extensions installed. And they do line up relatively well. I got a little bit of a gap up top here where it meets the tail panel. And on this side, it's pretty flush. It's not going to make or break me. I don't have any of the other 71s, don't all line up. This corner's not too bad. It's a little bit under here. Probably just going to tap out the quarter extension. But that's the least of my worries right now. I have to dress this all up, and I still have to install the trunk latch mechanism. And I'll close the trunk and show you how that looks. Okay, so here's how it looks with the deck lid closed. I still have a little bit more of a gap on the driver's side, but again, that'll probably be fixed once I put the weather strip in and I change the the actual rubber stoppers that are in the trunk. I could make that one a little bit taller. When I did dry fit the weather strip, I did have some issues with the alignment here. And this side's almost perfect right now. But we'll see when I put the weather strip back in where it's at. I might have to trim the weather strip down a little bit because it does stick out pretty far in the channel. And I know over time it will flatten out. But I don't know if I got that long to wait. So we'll see what I can do with that. But right now I'm happy with where the deck lid actually sits on the tail panel. I don't have any of the other 71s don't line up that well. So it's pretty good. I do have a little bit larger of a gap right here from manipulating it so much. Kind of shifted a little bit. But again, I'm done adjusting the deck lid for now. I'm going to fix the quarters next. First thing, I'm going to grind those pins off. I'm not leaving the side molding. I do have all the pieces, so if someone purchases this car, they can always put it on, or I know you can actually use screws to hold on the clips, or of course just get the stick-on stuff. But I really want to get underneath here and start to tear these quarters apart. There's a lot of metal work to do underneath. On the back of the wheel well side of it, there's some rot. Nothing out of my wheelhouse. And the only thing I want to do first before I do that is, this is a secondary door. This is from a 73 coupe. I'm using this door, so I'm just going to go ahead and line it up a little better before I start cutting the quarter off, just so I have a very good reference point. I'm not worried about putting the fenders back on right now. That'll all come in time, but as soon as the quarters are done, then I'm going to work on getting at the screws back here. There's one metal patch, I believe it has to be done on the other side. Although once I take this off here, I don't know what I'm going to discover. But there's one issue that I know is bad, and that's on this side. There's going to be a couple quarter-sized pieces probably to put in there. Again, I'm going to preserve the body line. I'm not going to glaze over that. I'll do whatever work has to be done here, but I'm going to leave that. I'll leave that line in there. But the body lines themselves, they line up pretty good. I've already kind of manipulated this trunk lip quite a bit, so I'm going to have to put some filler on there once I strip all the paint off of it. This side is actually pretty level too. It's just got to come over a little bit. And again, the body line is pretty spot on. So that's pretty good alignment considering car was pretty substantially bashed in on both sides in the rear. Another concern I have is that the rearmost cross brace in the frame. I did kind of bend it back to where it's supposed to be, but once I hang the gas tank and of course the rear bumper, I'll see exactly where that stands. Again, next step is to grind all these pins down and get rid of them. And then I'll see how I'm going to fit the replacement quarters. That's all for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel for notifications on this project's progress and other how-to videos. Thanks.